Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, partnering with donors from all walks of life to improve southeastern Virginia through grants, scholarships, and leadership initiatives. Learn more at hamptonroadscf.org.
Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Hamley. There's been a lot of discussion in the news lately about the maternal health crisis for African American women. Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related complications than white women. Lack of quality health care, underlying chronic conditions, and racism are some of the reasons for the disparity. What's not talked about frequently is the role fathers play in ensuring a healthy and safe pregnancy and birth experience for mom, baby, and dad. So, what's dad got to do with it? That's next on Another View, right after this national, regional, and local news from NPR and WHRO News.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Hamley. On today's Another View, we're talking about the health and well-being of moms and their babies, but from the dad's perspective and involvement. There's a program in Hampton Roads, the Up Center's Dad to Dads program, mentoring, counseling, and training for dads and dads-to-be. Here to tell us about it is Michael Jones, the dad engagement specialist with the Up Center. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Good morning. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. C. Nicole Wardlaw, a certified nurse midwife with Centera and your own company, correct?
Yes, Johnny Birth and Wellness Services.
Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate that. Corey Dozier, a dad who has participated in both the Dad and Doula and Dad to Dads program. How you doing, Corey?
I'm well, thank you.
Good to meet you and see you here with us today.
Appreciate
and Gerard Deese, a dad and advocate for dads who has attended every session of the Dad to Dads program.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that right?
Thank you for having me. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks so much for being here. So, Michael, I want to start with you. I'm curious about the title of the program. What does Dad to Dads mean?
So Dad to Dads, it's really kind of personal when we put the name together because I'm a father. And what we find is we don't have a lot of environments that are set up that are safe spaces for dads to come together to speak to other dads. And so because I'm a dad, I'm facilitating this program to other dads. So it's literally Dad to Dads. Dad Engagement Services is like the big corporate name. That's when we go out and talk to other large entities in the community. But Dad to Dads, that's really what it is. It's me and you. It's us and we together having conversations in a safe space to talk about how we can be better fathers.
So is it classrooms? Is it just conversation? I mean, give me a sense of what happens.
We actually have 2 groups. We had one that ended, our Dads and Doulas group, which was our signature program created by our resident doula, Deborah Carlos.
Mm-hmm.
That's our Dads and Doulas group, and that was in a classroom setting. She's a doula, so we would come in and kind of walk the dads through what they could do to prepare themselves for the birth, support their partner during the pregnancy. And then we have our actual Dad to Dad group. That's not so much a classroom setting as much it is a support group. So we come in, we do have particular topics because we want to make sure that both the new and veteran fathers have the education that they need with evidence-based material, but it's done in a support group style. So for our Dad to Dad group, we would have 15 minutes out of the hour and a half set aside called the Coach's Corner. So any relevant material that we needed to distribute to make sure that we met our goals, that happened in the Coach's Corner. The rest of it was what the dads felt like they needed to talk to in order to better themselves in whatever area that they seemed.
Now, are these single fathers, married fathers, combination of all?
So we have combination. We have single fathers, married fathers, separated fathers, divorced fathers, expecting fathers, and non-custodial fathers. So it was open to all. And we serve all 5 of the Southside cities. And so we had fathers who met in person, and then we had fathers who met with us virtually.
Okay.
And then through the efforts of Mr. Deese, we actually had fathers from different parts of the country. So we had fathers come in from Pennsylvania and from Maryland, from Washington, D.C., from New York, from Colorado. And so we kind of reached fathers across the country in this hybrid environment.
So, Corey, you just had a baby a
Yes.
month ago.
Yes.
Almost a month, yeah?
About a month ago.
About a month ago. And you participated in the program. What brought you to the Up Center to make you participate?
I was just watching the news one day, and I saw a dad to dad, like a story. So I was like, let me, I was going through issues. I had lost a child previously. So I was like, this seems like a cool idea. So I reached out to the news because a number was missing. So I'm like, I can't get a response from nobody. And they were having like a meeting in the upcoming days, and I was like, I want to attend. So I'm doing the groundwork, and I found Mike, and he was able to get back to me in time. But I was like, it seemed like a good process, a good group of black men that I saw represented, looked like me, talked like me, and just able to help me. I didn't know. I'm a new dad, so I'm like, I don't know what to expect. Most of my friends, their children are like teenagers, so I got like a new baby coming. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. This group seems cool. Let me try it if it's not what I need. Mm-hmm. And I've been attending ever since.
So tell me some of what you went through, dad and doula.
Dad to doula.
Dad to doula. So what was involved with that particular training?
That was just a sit-in for me. So it was just like I'm just listening, and they allowed me to ask some questions, get my frustrations out, issues what I might have, because I didn't know what to expect with a new child. I'm like, I always wanted a child, but I'm like, I don't know what comes with it, other than you feed, change, and the mother takes pictures. But I'm like, you don't realize, like, you're losing a child, what happens after that, or the issues with you're a father, so this child depends on you. Like, there's no manual, there's no blueprint. So I'm just like, I got to figure this out. So I just sit into the dad to doula. I took notes, wrote down some stuff, and I'm like, this stuff is helpful, So it's like So
it made you feel better as opposed to scaring you half to death?
Yes. It gave me some homework to do, and I left that and just started researching stuff on my own. Even checked out a book, The Montessori Baby, and just, it was helpful for me, and told other people about it. I was like, I don't know about it, man. I'm like, all right, well, I'm a first-time father, so I don't know what to do. This helps. This calms my anxiety down. And then the next after that was dads to dads. And I'm like, this is much better,
So if you could share, what are some of the frustrations that you were able to talk to other dads about?
What to expect. Like, we lost a child at first. So I'm like, I don't know how to handle this. Like, excuse me, I'm getting emotional.
No, it's all right.
Whew.
Thank you for sharing.
So I'm like, how do I get past what happened previously?
Yeah. Gerard, when you see Corey become emotional, is that what happens in the groups?
100%. That's why I needed the support when me and Mr. Jones met a few years ago, because like he said, he has friends that got older kids and they don't have a guidance. And then he went and seeked that guidance, and he found the answers that he needs. So when I was going through it, it might be a different situation, but I didn't have nobody. I went to the Up Center. They didn't even have a men's group then. So I'm happy that he found us the way he did, because we all have the same issues. But in our community, we just don't talk about it. So that's why I'm dedicated and so involved in being a part of it, because how he felt alone, I felt alone, he felt alone. We all feel alone at some point, but you're not. You just got to seek the help.
Right. So talk to me about some of the issues or some of the things that seem to be common among the dads that are participating, because you all come from all walks of life, right?
But
I mean, the thing you have in
Yep.
common is that you're all was everybody African American in the group?
We actually did have Caucasian fathers in the group. One of our fathers was the father of a 4-year-old, and we actually had a father that had 3 children. I think the youngest child was maybe about 8 or 9 months. So it was primarily African American, but our group, even though we are designed to support the needs of Black and brown fathers, because of the maternal health crisis, we didn't exclude anybody. So anybody that wanted to get support in their fatherhood journey was welcome in the group.
Okay. All right. So some of the challenges.
I guess the main one is being an involved parent. When Michael mentioned that non-custodial, I want to object, but I'm not in court. You know?
Couldn't think of the right word.
I'm there with my daughter. She's here with me.
Yeah.
Being there, showing up consistently, no matter what the court say, no matter what your significant past other might say, you just got to show up, and that's the common number one. The other one is how do we express our emotions to not only our sons, but mostly our daughters, because I have all brothers. Most of my friends have all brothers, but then when you get a daughter, it's like, man, I can't talk to nobody. They can't tell me how to nurture her, bring her up, tell her from right to wrong. So that's another common issue. And then just, talking amongst men is another common issue. Again, we all have the same issues, but if you're trying to pacify what you need to say, you're not helping yourself. A lot of my friends that I said, look, imagine you're just Times Square and you're naked. You just got to say what you feel to get that burden off your shoulders. I tell some of my friends also, all dads work out. You might not be in the gym, but you're dealing with all that weight that you're pushing, and you just got to let it out.
Yeah.
So that's why we do what we do.
I wonder, and I'm going to bring you in, Nicole. I haven't forgotten about you, but I just want to get, in our society, unfortunately, there is this whole mentality of dad is about the pocketbook. As long as you paying me my support or whatever, providing financial support, you don't need to be otherwise engaged. And Michael, what does that do, one, to the men who want to be engaged, and then what does that do to the family unit?
So it absolutely wrecks the family unit. Particularly in our culture, because so Western culture says that men are supposed to be primarily protectors and providers, right? So we're primarily African American men or people of color. So we're not far removed from last hired, first fired. We live in a society where we're physically seen as a threat everywhere that we go. I have 2 daughters and a son. If my house is swatted and I have a registered firearm and the police come in and see it, I'm a goner. So in all honesty, I am not able to maintain the standard that our culture says about being a protector and a provider. So what I view as manhood is already challenged. That's without any inadequacy at all. That's just regular everyday life. What it means to be a man, I feel myself failing in that area. Now let's add a wife or a partner and a child into the mix that comes with its own fears and anxieties. So if you say that I'm only relegated to protecting and providing and I can't do that, then I'm much more likely to physically check out or mentally check out. And then that does harm to the family, because raising a child is not just a 2-person job, but we can say it's a 2-person job, but it's a community job, right? And if the father is not present, again, especially in a culture that undervalues and underpays women, then that is a serious stress and strain on mom trying to fulfill both of those roles. And you see the family suffer. So the children, their grades suffer, their mental health suffers, mom's physical and mental health suffers. And so we definitely want to address the elephant in the room, which was the third thing, primarily the first that we talk about. Sometimes we talk around it, sometimes we directly talk to it, but it's mental health. When I call him Mr. Deese, he's my friend, but when me and Mr. Deese talk, one of the things that we talked about was him being an advocate for both physical and mental health. And in our group, we've had therapists come in, but we talk about different coping skills and different coping strategies, because we have to figure out a way to say out loud in a room full of men first, I'm not okay. We've had sessions. I don't think we've had a single session of dad to dads where somebody didn't cry. And it was painful for all of us, but we appreciated having that space to say I'm not okay, that I'm struggling, that I'm frustrated, that I want to strangle my kids, that I want to leave my wife, that I want to quit my job, that, I'm cussing mad, because if we do it there, then we don't do it at home. We don't do it in the garage. We don't do it in the alcohol. We don't do it in extramarital, affairs. We don't end up in front of the magistrate with domestic violence charges, because that anger and that frustration, that weight that Mr. Deese talks about, it has to go somewhere. It always goes somewhere. And as the book says, the body keeps score. So we're living with our own trauma. We're living with historical trauma. We're living with vicarious trauma. And then we're living with everyday life as fathers. So we definitely have to not only have a group where we can get some education, but we need a group that provides support.
And these are all of the dads new dads, or are these dads that also, like, you have a picture of your daughter, she's 8,
Yep.
I think, right? Who have older children. I mean, do they come to the meetings also?
Yeah, because our parent with our oldest is probably in their 20s. It was
Okay.
one of Mr. Deese's guests from Newport News. So
Okay.
the oldest virtual, child of the father, I think was like in the 22, 23.
Well, if you think of that aspect, when I invited my uncle, his kid about 30.
So we have,
but still, we learned.
still,
He
you're
learned.
learning.
Because fatherhood is a nonstop. You're always going to be
Journey.
a father. Whether you become a grandfather, a new uncle, you're still going to be a father on top of everything. So you can always learn something. It's for new dads, becoming dads, prospective dads, current dads, step dads, dads who adopt. So it's for dads, for everybody.
Across the board. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call to join our conversation. Are you a part of a dad's group? Have you even thought about utilizing this method in order to be a better father? Give us a call and let's talk about it. And moms, we want to hear from you. What do you think this does in terms of helping to make life better within your families? 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Corey, I want to ask you, of the things that you learned now that you're a new dad, is there something, a trick or something that the dads taught you that you find yourself doing now?
See if you remember what I said, because I remember.
I forgot.
of course you remember.
I think more just talk to my daughter, and actually, like, she's at a point now when she's like looking up at me like, you can figure it out, and I'm like, I don't know. but those little eyes, like, you got to figure it out. So I sing Stevie Wonder, like, my Sherry Moore tour. So she's like, I can't sing word for word, but she's like, I'm the best singer in the house right now. So
those eyes get you every time, don't they?
It calms
and that
her.
smile.
Yes.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, Nicole, the first of all, what's the difference between a doula and a midwife, certified midwife?
Okay,
Midwife, pardon me.
By credential, I'm a certified nurse midwife, but there are other types of midwives. So I always have to give honor to our certified midwives and our certified professional midwives and traditional midwives that are all working in our communities to have better outcomes. But midwives are trained and we're clinicians. Doulas offer emotional and physical support. They're not clinical people. They are there to support birthing people through their process, but they cannot do diagnoses. They cannot do anything clinical. They cannot do anything in terms of evaluating mom's health, baby's health. They don't do any of that, and that's what the midwives do.
Okay. So what do you notice, or do you notice a difference between when you have a birthing situation, okay, and you're in the birthing room or at home doing home birth? And is there a difference between the experience of a mother who is there alone or maybe with a girlfriend or, her mother or something versus her being there with her father, with the father of her child?
So it's absolutely a difference. First of all, pregnancy in itself is very stressful. And this is a time when that person is at their most vulnerable. And when they don't have the support of their partner, or whether it be a husband, boyfriend, baby daddy, whatever, and that person is not supporting them through it, that adds an extra layer of stress to that person. And when I see a family unit and the dad is present or the partner is present, because I do have same-sex couples that have babies, that person they feel loved, they feel supported, they are less likely to have postpartum depression, they are less likely to have lots of different types of complications, because they have that person that's there with them. I can tell you that typically speaking, the stereotype is that you have all these single Black moms out here and that we don't have families. But I'm so proud to say that most of my clients are a part of a family unit. And even in the hospital system that I work in, I see family units. It is rarer to see single moms that come in, they don't have support, they don't have anything. And I've had those moms who have come in the door and they come in by themselves and they leave with their babies. But if as a provider, I try to set up systems for them to give them the support that they don't have. So when the dads are present, I've seen some brothers step up in a way that their partners didn't even know that they could, to help them through that process. I love when they'll say, well, can somebody come to the visit? Absolutely. This is not about just your pregnancy. This is a whole family change. So I welcome the kids. I welcome the dads. I welcome everybody to come in to hear the baby's heartbeat and bond, because that process starts then, right? It's not just when the baby shows up.
Exactly.
And so the fathers definitely have them involved. Definitely, hey, here, feel your baby while the baby's still in utero. This is the baby's back. This is where the baby's head is. You feel that? That's a little foot. And dads get very fascinated. But we try to involve them in what's happening. When it's labor and go time, absolutely, dad's got to be involved. Because if they're not there with that level of support, mom feels like she's by herself. And there's, I don't know about you, but that isolated feeling is never good, especially when you are feeling the most vulnerable.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, is there a different relationship that you have with your wife? I mean, has the going to the classes helped you guys bond in an even different way?
Yeah, because I think through the class, Mike introduced me to a therapist. So from that, I didn't expect that, but we got couples therapy. And from there, I just learned new patterns, new things to do, ways to help us cope before the baby even came. So now that the baby's here, it's just like, it's a lot better, I think, as opposed to not having the therapy beforehand. So that pretty much helped. And
so what should we do?
What
do you guide us while you're there? Tell us what we should do. Instead of
during labor, during prenatal,
all the way up to maybe 2 weeks out.
One of the things that you said was being present.
Yeah.
You have to be present. And, I'd always try to get my dads to find resources like the support group. I post up the flyers because I want my dads to know that there's a place for them to go as well. But being present is so important. And it's like you mentioned about how we try to conform to Western culture. But Western culture is not our culture. And so I think definitely about how we have to think differently and how we approach our families and our family units. And being that presence doesn't always have to be about $1. But hey, when she's not able to, can you cook?
Right.
Can you provide meals?
Right.
Can you help with the kids? What can you do to support what's happening in that change in the dynamic in the household? Or if you're not in the household, what can you do? Because if y'all have children together, but y'all are technically not together anymore, can you help with school pickup? Being ready, getting the kids to and from activities and saying, you know what, we have this child that's coming, so maybe we're not together anymore, but I'm going to be there for this baby. I'm going to be there for this child. I'm going to show up. I'm going to help change some diapers and be up at night and whatever, just being present.
Now, what's your program in the birthing area? What would you have as a job? Because I remember in the
Gerard
hospital.
is my co-host here.
I can go all day, but when you're in the hospital, just stand there, hold her hand. So what's in your birthing environment, what do the dads get to do?
So for me, dads do a whole lot, because if mom is having some back pressure, I will show them how to do counter pressure. I'll show them how to do hip squeezes. I'll show them how to, I'm like, okay, make sure she's drinking, make sure she's voiding. So every 2 hours she needs to go pee. You remember that. She's not going to remember, I need to empty my bladder. I'm going to say, look, make sure that every few moments she's sipping some water, right? That's your job, to make sure she's staying hydrated, making sure that she's moving. Or when she needs to rest, that the house is quiet or the area is just quiet so that she can rest. If you're in a hospital, then it's advocating for her to say that, my wife or my girlfriend right now, she wants some pain medicine. What can we do? And not just letting her kind of slip through the cracks, because sometimes units get busy, and you just advocate in a way that it's, not confrontational, but to say, hey,
but to have another voice there.
Right, to have a voice that advocates for the mom.
you.
If you're just joining us, we're talking about the Dad to Dads program with the Up Center. Our guests are Dad Engagement Specialist Michael Jones, Certified Nurse Midwife C. Nicole Wardlaw, and Dads Corey Dozier and Gerard Deese, who have both participated in the program and are advocates for dads. 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you're a dad, call us and tell us about your experience in being a father. And do you wish that you had a program like this to participate in before becoming a father? 757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Hang on. Michael, the program itself is sponsored by Anthem.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, generously funded by Anthem. And so the Up Center is a very forward-thinking organization that is very concerned about outcomes in the community, how we can help families, predicting where the areas of needs are going to be, delivering programming to support those needs for healthy families. And so our proposition to Anthem was actually a part of our maternal health hub.
Which I was surprised about, because you really don't think about dads in that realm.
Yes.
Which is really great.
Yeah. So I don't want to give names and risk missing somebody, but the person that I've done the majority of my fatherhood work with at the top is Andrea Long. And I've worked with her with our Strengthening Fathers program some years ago and our Responsible Father program. And so in conversation with her, she was sharing with them for the early childhood home visiting programs that we have, which is Parents as Teachers and Healthy Families. That's a part of our maternal health hub. And we also have doula services with our resident doula, Deb the doula. And then we also have maternal mental health as a part of it. And so this dad engagement piece was something that they were really fascinated about. They had never heard about that idea. And I've actually talked to international doulas and midwives. There are very few programs even similar to what we're doing on the globe that is particularly focused on dad involvement. And so we're very fortunate that Anthem has said that this is a crisis, and we're going to put our money where our mouth is, and we're going to support programs that can impact that, because as you said, 2 to 3 times, that's a high number. Yeah. We give credit to a lot of different reasons why this comes up, but every cause, the root cause, has to do with racism and implicit bias, even medical racism. It doesn't. You don't have to be African American Black. You can be Afro-Cuban. You can be from Brazil. You can be from France. If you identify as a Black in the United States, they have algorithms. We were on a panel at Norfolk State where they did the aftershock. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's calculated. So our odds go down just based on race. It has nothing to do with medical history. It has nothing to do with education.
And it also has nothing to do with socioeconomic.
Not at all. Serena Williams
is
almost
a great
lost
example.
her life because of that. And so Anthem is saying that we want to make sure that we have the programs in place across the country to address this, so that Black moms and Black babies are not suffering because of this.
757-440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Mark joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Mark. You're on the air.
Good. Happy New Year to all.
Happy New Year.
And Good. I'd just like to acknowledge one of our great ancestors, Daniel Stone, who was the director of social services for Virginia Beach, who actually sanctioned and authorized a program called Fathers in Training that was magnificently run by Mr. Brian Hawkins. And I'm a father of 4, been through the doula process 4 times, and so I know what that process is like. So we have one son, and I asked my son, and I pleaded with my son to save himself for marriage, understanding all these dynamics that bring hardship, heartache, and everything else to the process of trying to father. And I just wanted to ask the gentleman there, is that a conversation that's visited much going forward? I understand that, you're a father and you are where you are now, but going forward, do they revisit the idea of maybe courtships versus maybe freelance dating so that we can try to get this family component back together and knitted and woven to where it's unbreakable?
Okay, Mark, let me let the panel respond to you, and I'll go across the room. So start with you, Michael.
So first and foremost, I appreciate him bringing that up. Brian Hawkins is actually the first person that I saw do fatherhood. As an intern at Norfolk State, I got a chance to go out to Virginia Beach and watch him do his work, and that kind of inspired the work that I did. So it's great
and actually,
to hear 10 years later. I just saw him recently, and he was telling me how proud he was of the work that I was doing. So that is great.
And actually my husband, Maxie Lee, he also participated in that program in helping to mentor some of the young men
awesome.
that came there. So, yeah.
Now, in terms of conversation in the group, so in my place, I don't advise one way or another in that area, like in a group setting. Mm-hmm. But if I'm talking to particularly a young father, so I've had young fathers that we did with one-on-one sessions, we do talk about just the societal and the cultural benefits of being married and have children. But I don't necessarily push that myself, even though it is my personal and religious belief. I don't push that because I know just in the 21st century, families look very different than they did some time ago. And so what I promote is healthy families. So whatever the situation the father is in, we talk about what the best decision for his physical, emotional, and financial health and how it can impact the family. However, in the room, we have Mr. Deese, and Mr. Deese is going to keep it real and say all the things that the dad engagement specialist can't say.
Okay, we're coming to Mr. Deese in just a minute, but go ahead, Nicole. You wanted to respond to that too.
Yeah, because as the midwife who sees people before they're even pregnant, and I particularly have an affinity towards teenagers. I love talking to my teenagers and my young girls, and when they start talking, oh, well, I met this guy, I'm all in love. And I'm like, okay, so what kind of family planning are we doing? Because I talk to them about being baby mamas versus being wives or partnered. And I bring that into the conversation because I say to them, like, this is the time before you're now pregnant. And who knows what this relationship is going to be like, right? Mm-hmm. What kind of contentious relationship will it be? Like, are you willing to be tied to somebody for the next 18 years or more, right? And they'll be like, well, I could have this baby. I don't want to marry them. What do you mean? You're still partnered. You're still in this relationship. You may not love this person, but you're going to have to like this person, and you're going to be stuck with this person as long as you have this child. So we talk a lot about that during that time prior to pregnancy.
Yeah, to get to it. Corey?
I haven't had this conversation. Honestly, it's a light bulb now. I have nieces and I have, friends with children that, teenage. So I never even thought about it, honestly. So I think, was it Mark they called?
Yes.
So I thank you, Mark, for opening my eyes to something different, because I never even thought about that.
Ain't seen nothing yet.
Okay, and Gerard?
Man, I got nephews that one just had a baby. I got young friends, older friends, and I tell them, like you said, are you gonna be able to deal with that person when you're doing adult things? Is that what you really want to do? Yeah, it might be fun now, but 18 years, is it gonna be fun then? Watch what you do, have your fun, but do it the right way. So I'm consistently telling my young friends and older friends, you got to be business minded in a sense of who you get in with, because at the end of the day it's all contracts when the baby comes. That's pretty much whether you like that person or not. So best to find a good friend and y'all can agree on it.
and you do want to try to hopefully be in a situation where both of you can guide that child, because really that's what it's all about, is raising the children.
Children can't raise children.
Right.
So definitely my younger ones, my youngest nieces, all my nephews are pretty much grown. But do you really want to do that? How you living with your parents? That's all you're going to mimic, if not this times worse. If you're going to mimic what you being upraised, and if you don't like how you being upraised, or you're arguing with your dad or your mother about this and that, and how you want to have a baby for it, you're gonna mimic that.
I'm curious. Do you guys? Well, go ahead, Michael, and then I'll come ask my question.
The mimic thing that popped into my head because one of the components of our program is the mentoring. So I do the one-on-one mentoring. Like I go to the homes and I do the telephone, Zoom, text message. But in one of our first groups, what we talked about was where we got our image of what it means to be a man and a father. And I think that's one of the benefits of the group. A lot of us did not have either a consistent role model, and for some of us that did have consistent role models, they weren't necessarily good role models. And so we find ourselves, some of us in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, trying to figure out what it means to be a man, a husband, and a father. And so we do need a space to work that out, to say that my dad did or did not do this, and it affected me this way or that way, and I do or don't want, because it goes both ways, I do or don't want to do those things with my own children, because I don't want them to feel the way that I did. And very often, until we kind of hit that age of maturity, we go in areas of extremes. I can't speak for women, but I know for a lot of the men that I talk to, we either want to be just like our father or we want to be nothing like our father. And then we have children and we realize, it's somewhere in the middle, because we understand that, for the most part, they do the best they can with what they have, and, finances and mental health and all that stuff. But we really do need a place where we can mimic, that we can. Me and Mr. Deesa just had great conversations about, we both have daughters. We both have 8-year-old daughters.
Well, we said at the last meeting Tuesday about my father.
Yeah.
I was telling my daughter, she was like, why you always tell me you love me? She's 8 going on 28, right? So I'm like, because I never had a father who told me I love you.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you every chance I get and hold your face and say, I love you. Whether you mad at me, I don't care. We're going to be mad sitting on that couch together, pouty face. But I love you.
Yeah.
You don't ever want to not show your love and tell your love to your kids. And we didn't have that. That's why we sought out these groups. And I went to multiple groups before. Me and Mr. Jones met at another group through CHKD. And they was like, it's over. What are we going to do? We're going to do our own thing.
Well, and I was going to ask, do you guys, like, after how long are the sessions? And then once
Officially?
It's done, and that's my point. Once it's done, are you guys like meeting on your own? Are you continuing that kind of bonding?
So
Let me start with Michael.
So the class itself is an hour and a half, and we start early and we stay late. And then this
for how many weeks?
So the first we did July till November. And then we had a father-led, Mr. Deese hosted a dinner for some of the fathers where we all got a chance to meet. Some of us hadn't met in person. And then this next group of dads is going to be 6 sessions and then a break, and then 6 sessions and then a break. And so the way we develop the group is we want to build group cohesion. So we want the group to be able to carry on without. So if I'm not there, if a dad engagement specialist is not there, that the group is bonded, that they're calling. We had a father who went through a divorce and his child with the mother moved. And so me and Mr. Deese, phone calls, text messages, making sure
how you doing?
That, he was okay, and no pressure to come back to the group. Just, we're here as brothers. We're here to support you. We have another father where some of us are trying to show up for court. They're going to be having court coming up soon. Like we just want to sit there and say, we're here to support you. We want to make sure that the judge knows that you have a tribe. So whatever we can do as brothers and now as friends to support each other, even saying the hard things like, I learned from Miss Denise, I was too hard on my daughter. I yelled at my daughter kind of hard this morning. She's 8, and I could see her fighting the tears, but she was wrong, and I just went too far. And I told her, I said, "You mad? Is you big mad or you super mad? What kind of mad are you?" She's like, "I'm mad. I just want to go to school." And I was like, "Okay, well, you can be mad, but I still love you, and it's still my job to take care of you." And then I told her I loved her, and I was like, "Call me when you get home in case she beats me home, because I need to reinforce," like Mr. D said, I got to reinforce that and I messed up, but even when I mess up, I still love you. I'm still going to apologize. I'm still going to acknowledge, because I got to guide her in a way where she feels safe. And also that if she does end up getting married and marries somebody, we want him to be like me, and we want that to be a good thing. We don't want to be married to somebody who reminds me of my father and he's beat me upside the head. So we have these kind of conversations. So had I told Mr. Deese what I did this morning, he'd have fried me in the lobby. Like, you can't be yelling at your daughter. She's 8 years old. You can't do that, right? And that kind of accountability, that extends out. The group was last night. Had I told him before I came in, he can't do nothing because we're here now. But had I told him in the bathroom,
gonna get you right as you get outside, though.
Yeah, and we need that.
You know, it sounds. First of all, I am so glad we're doing this show, because there's such a negative impression and thought within our society about Black men, that you guys can't come together, that you can't be friends, that you're always in competition as opposed to supporting and so forth. And so this is a very different conversation. Corey, I'm looking at you because you're smiling.
Oh, no, even to the fact what you're saying, that you can't cry, you can't be emotional. I think they gave like an outlet, it's like, be you. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we accept you how you are. You know what I'm saying? I remember he told me something. He's like, when you have the child, you're gonna have to be the gatekeeper. You're gonna have to be the security guard.
I remember that.
I was like, I don't think so, man. Like, family can come by, they want to come by. He was like, nah, like, you're gonna have to tell them, like, give us 30 days, give us some time. Yeah. So he's talking now, Mike and Mr. Deeds. I'm like, oh yeah, they did tell me that. So I'm like, I'm living it right now. It's like, nah, we're not taking visitors right now. Like, give us 30 days.
And that's okay. Also, that it's okay to say that.
Set your family boundaries, the way you want it to be perceived.
Right. So, and I heard you say, Michael, that, or I think Corey, you said that Michael introduced you to a therapist.
Right.
And you guys were able to go to family therapy. Do you find the outside resources or the additional resources outside of the program that you're able to send people to?
So my first choice is always going to be the Up Center, because it's home. So we have a lot of different services, outpatient services. We have substance abuse services. Through our parents as teachers, we're able to give fathers diapers and wipes. And then, of course, because my background is in case management, then any other type of service that we can refer to. I've had fathers that we sat on a computer and I helped them apply for SNAP benefits. So any type of, if they tell us what the need is, then we would try to support them in meeting that need, because the family's well-being in part is dependent on dad's well-being. And so if we can take like diaper, I asked Mr. Corey, like, y'all need diapers? He's like, we're good for right now. But okay, now how expensive are the diapers we're using? Because Walmart brand is very, like, any kind of thing that we can do to help, whether it's an intellectual resource or whether it's a support in the community, then we're going to do those. We're going to do those referrals.
Nicole, when you hear this, you know, women have this kind of support. Or at least we hear a lot more about it. Or do you agree with that statement?
Yes and no. The resources are there, but a lot of times people don't know how to navigate through that and get to the resources. So I appreciate listening to what he's saying, because now, of course, I'm like, okay, cool, we're going to tap into that, because every day I'm always looking at what challenges are coming in the door and how can we help somebody. How can we navigate towards that resource? Because people don't know. And people, like, you assume that women will be like, oh, yeah, I can just apply for this or I can do that. But most of the time they don't know either.
They don't know how to do it. So, Gerard, I want to ask you, when the guys are together, what are they saying that the women in their lives are saying because they've been a part of the conversation?
As Mr. Jones said, when the group we first met, so I started to do my own group, and we all have multiple arenas of friends. So I'm like, I'm tired of you coming to me, you coming. We all gonna be together because I know your dirt, I know your dirt, I know you. So we all gonna come together and sit at a table. I try to do once a month, But December, I told them that we're going to do every 3 months because life is life. So, man, we talk about all types of things, but what are our wives doing? What should we do to our kids? How can we better, our lives as a man and a family man and a husband, boyfriend, fiance? So, man, I don't know if I spill all the beans, but so my therapist, who I met many years ago through the Up Center, she has a broad range of stuff. So when I realized I was going to get back into a serious relationship, I hunted her down. I went to like 5 different locations, and they finally wrote down the name. I was like, oh, I spelled her name wrong. And then as soon as it popped up, I found her. Besides trauma therapy and other different therapies, she specializes in sex therapy. And we talk about different avenues of how I can spice up my relationship because my fiance lives in New York. So, and I was telling my nephew the other day, besides, you got to take it in steps. Obviously, when you wake up in the morning, you got to do your physical check of yourself and see how you're doing. And then you need to prioritize by two. Let's start off with 2 things, right? Something that's going to make you happy and something that's going to get you through your day. And if you can live through those 2 things, then keep it moving. Now, if you're involved in a relationship, your significant other has to be in there. So, and being mine is far away, you got to send some, hey, what are you doing? No. You got to send some, damn, baby, I'm thinking about that last time we were together. You got to send that text. Or if she's local, send her a DoorDash to let them know, hey, I'm thinking about you. And on the flip side is that when one of my friends is messing up, I remember last year a friend of mine was like, man, she said she didn't want to do nothing for Valentine's Day. I'm like, well, then do you want to do something? If you want to do something, do it. But right now, we at work. It's a little too late for you to make some plans, so this is what you're going to do. We're going to go get some food. You're going to go to the mall. You're going to go get some Walmart flowers. You're going to throw them around in the house, right? And you're going to have that food ready because you can't make a reservation. So we talk about it all. So
Corey's just sitting there taking it all in.
I got you, man.
Because I remember his voice echoing. I'm like, man, where he been at?
Hey, I'm around. If he's around, I'm around.
Okay. Yeah, Mike's been checking on me. But, I mean, like, December was rough because I'm like, the baby's coming. It's the holidays. I'm like, I don't know what to expect. So it feels good to see him, and hear him again. So,
do you remember, can you describe for us what it was like when you saw it's a daughter, right? When you saw your daughter being born?
Oh, man. Well, I'm going to describe the whole start. So I had to work that Saturday, and my wife said, I want to go see Color Purple. So we're thinking the baby's not going to come. I'm thinking the baby's not going to come to next week so I can watch some NBA games. I can do what I want to do. And, like, midnight, my wife's like, my mucus plug came. And I'm like, I don't know what that is.
You should have been ready.
Right. But I did. It was a group that's like, you need to pack a bag. And I listened to Mike. He was like, make sure you got this, that. So I was like, I didn't do it, but that Friday I did it. So it was just in time. So then back to, she's like, my mucus plug. And I was like, I don't know what that means. So I rolled back over. And I know it sounds bad. She's probably listening. I'm sorry. And then like, couple of minutes later, she's just standing there. It's like, my water broke. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I wasn't planning for today to have a baby. Like,
you wasn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't planning.
The baby makes the decision.
I was like, I still want to catch these NFL games. I know it's, I know. But I'm like, okay, so life hit me. So I'm like, I'm rushing. I got like one sock on, a pair of shorts. So I was going, okay, I'll go to the car. She's like, Corey, just stop. Like, excuse me.
Calm down, Corey.
Calm down, Corey. She's like, let me call the doctor. Let me call, her mom or sister. We need to check in. And I'm like, I'm just gathering. I'm so shook. Like, nobody tells you how it's going to come. And we talked about it a couple of days. It's like, how did you think it was going to happen? I was like, I thought, I would get off work and it's like 5 o'clock. It's sunny outside.
You thought you would have a time. You would plan it until, okay,
that's the best part.
The babies, yeah.
That's the best part.
It just came and, I put the car seat in and we're driving. She's like, the contractions. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, it's like a movie. I'm watching it, but I'm in it. And then we get to the hospital. I'll never forget this. And I'm trying to find somewhere to park. And she's like, if you don't take your A to the front. I was like, okay. And then security guards, police let us park right there and go in. And then we were there, and it's just like, I'm like, wow, I'm a father. Like, I'm in the emergency room, and like I was holding her, like she wanted to have a baby on her side, and I was like, okay, cool. So the nurse was like, hold one leg, and it was something in my mind. A friend of mine was like, just don't look down, Corey. Do not look down. And I was like, let me look down. And I looked back and looked. I was like, oh man. I was like, I just don't want to pass out. But the nurse was like, Dad, just take a seat. But I was there. I was like, I don't want to be like, I'm not there at all. Like, presence matters of everything. So I was there the whole time. I was like, I just want to be. It was magical for me. So I cut the umbilical cord, and I'll never forget the day, honestly. Like,
oh, you should. I wish we were on TV right now so that people could see the smile on his face and the glow on your face. That's just beautiful.
Yeah, because I always wanted a daughter, so it's just like, you pray for something and it's just like manifested. So
that is. It's
fantastic. Still magical. Like I don't believe it to this day, but we're here.
Enjoy it.
We're here.
Nicole?
I was going to say dads are hilarious. Because it's like, I think they have this thought in their head, it's going to be like what's on TV.
Yeah.
So it's like the water breaks, and then they are running around, and it's a huge panic, like in a circle, like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And mom is just standing there like, okay, just don't forget about B, because it's like they'll hop in the car and be like, let's go. Right. Oh yeah, I got to get her too. Come on, let's go. Or they'll call me and they're in this panic. I remember one dad called me and he was like, I don't know what to do. She's screaming. What do we do? What am I supposed to do? I said, just chill. Take a few breaths. It's going to be okay.
Just breathe.
I said, I'm on my way. Call the doula. I was like, hey, girl, I need somebody. Come on. Because she didn't have a doula. I dispatched a doula over there. I got there. We were able to calm her down. Dad was still nervous. He kept, leaving the house. Had to take a couple of mental health breaks and maybe some smoke breaks. I don't know what he was doing. But he would come back in. But at the end of the day, they cracked me up.
Okay, Michael, we have a minute and a half left. The hour is gone.
Wow.
So tell me, can people still participate?
Absolutely.
Talk to us about how they get in touch, all of that.
So we have our website, so theupcenter.org. I believe it's /dad-to-dads. They can register through our survey online. They can contact me directly at 757-337-3447.
Say it again.
757-337-3447. And please leave a voicemail. You can reach me by email, Michael.Jones, that's Michael.Jones at theupcenter.org, all one word, THEUPCENTER.org. Typically, we will I advertise social media, so we have our Eventbrite links. Our groups are normally on the first and third Tuesdays of each month. We have our Dad to Dad kickoff, which was the 16th and the 30th, and then we'll also be launching Dads Under Construction, which is going to be for our new and expecting fathers. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. So that is Michael Jones, Nicole Wardlaw, Corey Dozier, and Gerard Deese. Thank you all so very much for joining me today to talk about this. And thank you, audience, for listening to our show today. If you know of a dad who could benefit from the Dad to Dads program, please share this show with him. Go to anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. Next week on Another View, your very favorite cardiologist on the planet, Dr. Keith Newby, with Another View on Health. Our theme music is an original composition created especially for Another View by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Jordan Christie is our audio engineer, and Dr. Barry Graham answered our phones. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Stay safe, stay warm this weekend, and let's get together again next Thursday at noon for Another View.
Support comes from Hampton Roads Community Foundation, carrying out your charitable wishes forever, whether it's helping shelter animals, feeding the homeless, enhancing the arts, or supporting students. Learn more at leaveabequest.org.